Welcome back everyone. In the last video, we covered the First and Second Crusades, the triumphs, the failures, and the chaos that shaped the medieval world. But the story is far from over. Today we enter the next chapter, where the battle for the Holy Land continues. After decades of Crusader rule, the balance of power in the Holy Land was shifting. Muslim forces, now united under a brilliant leader Saladin, were ready to strike back. In 1187, the Battle of Hattin became a turning point. The Crusaders, weakened by internal conflicts and strategic mistakes, suffered a crushing defeat. With their armies shattered, there was little left to defend Jerusalem. In October of the same year, the city that had been the heart of the Crusader states fell into Saladin's hands. But this was not the end. News of Jerusalem's fall sent shockwaves through Europe, and soon, a new crusade was on the horizon. The fall of Jerusalem in 1187 shocked Europe. The Pope, horrified by the loss of the Holy City, called for a new crusade, led by the most powerful rulers of Christendom. This time, it would not be just nobles and knights, but kings. The three most powerful monarchs of the time took up the cross. Frederick Barbarossa, Holy Roman Emperor, an aging but legendary warrior. Richard the Lionheart, fearless King of England. Philip II of France, a strategic and ambitious ruler. Each had his own reasons for joining, but their goal was the same: to recapture Jerusalem and restore Christian rule in the Holy Land. However, as they set out, their crusade would face challenges beyond the battlefield. Frederick Barbarossa was not your average crusader. He was the Holy Roman Emperor and a battle-hardened warrior. While Philip and Richard sailed for the Holy Land, Barbarossa, in true German fashion, decided to take the scenic route, marching thousands of miles through the Balkans and Anatolia. At first, things went surprisingly well. His army marched through Hungary, dealt diplomatically, and sometimes violently, with the Byzantines, and then entered Anatolia. The Seljuks tried to stop him, but Barbarossa, at 67, still had the energy of a hero. At the Battle of Iconium in 1190, his forces routed the Seljuk army and continued on to the Holy Land. The battle was fierce, but Barbarossa's armor was heavier. And then, disaster. On June 10, 1190, while crossing the Salef River in Cilicia, Barbarossa fell from his horse and drowned. The man who had defeated the Seljuks, outwitted the Byzantines, and led one of the most powerful armies in Europe somehow managed to drown in a small river. Only a small fraction of his forces actually reached the Holy Land. And just like that, one of the greatest medieval rulers went from powerful emperor to historical fun fact about why you shouldn't wear full armor in a river. Philip II of France wasn't exactly a knight in shining armor. He was more of a stab you in the back and take your land before you even notice kind of guy. But when Jerusalem fell, he had no choice but to go on a crusade. After all, he couldn't let Richard get all the glory. Unlike Barbarossa, Philip took the smart route, by boat. No marching through enemy empires, no drowning in rivers. He and Richard set sail separately, but they both arrived in Sicily in 1190. The two kings were supposed to be allies, but their relationship was basically one long political squabble. They argued over everything: territory, money, even Richard's engagement to Philip's sister, which Richard promptly broke off as soon as they landed. Philip arrived in the Holy Land before Richard helped capture the key city of Acre in 1191, and then just left. Yes. While Richard was busy being the Crusades' action hero, Philip decided he had more important things to do, like plotting against Richard back in Europe. If Philip was the schemer and Barbarossa the old warhorse, Richard the Lionheart was the action hero. He took the sea route like Philip, but unlike his French ally, he turned it into a conquest tour. A storm forced him to Cyprus, so he conquered it, sold it, and moved on. Classic Richard. Arriving in the Holy Land in 1191, he went full Lionheart mode, capturing Acre and leading charges like a medieval action star. With Philip ditching the crusade early, Richard was left to face Saladin alone. Their battles were legendary, but neither could completely defeat the other. Realizing a total victory was impossible, the two reached a truce in 1192. Jerusalem would stay under Muslim control, but Christian pilgrims could freely visit and worship. Not the total win Richard wanted, but a deal good enough to head home. By the late 12th century, Jerusalem was still in Muslim hands. Pope Innocent III was like, "Alright guys, it's time for another crusade." The goal? Recapture the Holy Land. Simple, right? Well, not exactly. The Crusaders had no money. So they struck a deal with Venice, who agreed to transport them, if they helped Venice take the city of Zara first. Then, things got even crazier. A Byzantine prince named Alexios IV came to the Crusaders with an offer. "Help me take back my throne in Constantinople, and I'll pay you a fortune." So, instead of marching to Jerusalem, they turned their army toward Constantinople, the biggest Christian city in the world. But the Byzantine ruler did not have enough money, and what followed was pure chaos. The Crusaders plundered palaces, burned churches, and even stole priceless relics. Among the treasures they took were the famous bronze horses from the Hippodrome, which were shipped to Venice, where they still stand today. The Byzantine Empire was shattered. In its place, the Crusaders founded their own state, the Latin Empire. But it would not last long. In 1261, the Byzantines finally regained their city. Instead of saving Christendom, the Fourth Crusade weakened it forever. Constantinople never fully recovered, and this catastrophe made the Byzantine Empire an easy target for the Ottomans centuries later. The Fourth Crusade was supposed to save Jerusalem, but instead it destroyed Constantinople. And after that? Well, things didn't get much better. The 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th Crusades were largely unsuccessful. Much marching, fighting, and dying, but no real success. By the end of the 13th century, the last Christian stronghold in the Holy Land, Acre, had fallen in 1291. And so the Crusades had ended. After nearly 200 years of war, the Muslims still controlled Jerusalem, the Byzantines were crippled, and Europe had wasted its wealth on wars that, in the end, changed almost nothing. The Crusades had left a huge impact on history. They shaped medieval warfare, trade, and even the relationship between Christianity and Islam. But were they worth it? That's up for debate. But one thing is certain, the wars in the Holy Land remain to this day, and perhaps one day people will realize that they are all the same, and the conflict will cease.